absolutely buoyant Division 2 commentary box. I am QVR Killer, he's Ariel J. Cole, and we've just got a double podium at Singapore in Division 1 for all manner of tomfoolery and bear shenanigans going on there. And, you know, everyone just spinning and crashing, and hopefully we'll get more of the same in Division 2, because it's the longest race of the calendar, and boy oh boy do we need some entertainment to get us through it. We don't need another race like we had at Mexico that just sort of was a bit dead. So, makes a positive change this week that we have got a happy, optimistic, bubbly Jack Colville with us, not least because not only did he get a podium in D1, but his beloved Arsenal beat Leeds 4-1. So, you know, couldn't be in a better mood, could you?
Exactly, man. April Fool's Day is not very foolish to me, which is very surprising. But yeah, as you said, I think that's probably one of the first times I'm actually happy going into comms for a change for this season. I can't lie, it's a good feeling. But we'll see how the rest of the results pan out in D1 after the stewards reports. But I mean, yeah, I'm happy with how it's gone throughout tonight, and I would say I'm looking forward to Singapore. But as you said, in the past, it's kind of been a bit lackluster. I think we're just waiting for you to pick Spectator, and then I think we can go for it. But
apologies.
Yeah, I think it's just the case that, yeah, Singapore, it's never, I don't know how to describe it. It's a bit of a weird one. It's like there's been really great races around it, especially in Division 2. It's been like one of the best races, but it can also be one of the worst races to commentate and spectate on. So I'm hoping we get one of the greater ones for this evening. I don't know. I think, as you say, a bit of carnage might have to ensue for that to happen, but who knows what can happen.
Well, I fondly remember an absolutely pandemic classic from Season 3 in Division 2, where myself, XL Zaldimer, and XL Gary, as he was then, had a terrific battle for victory, going right down to the flag, with Dan taking the lead off my good self on the last lap. And I think last season was fun as well, wasn't it? We had rain coming right at the end of the race, and it was and me and Rick were just staying out forever and ever and ever. I remember you and you weren't sure why we were staying out so long, and then the rain came. Nathan, that was his last race in Division 2, had a bit of a spin, and then me and Rick were jostling to the line, and I lost the win after spinning on the pit straight when the rain came down. All I'll say is I hope we don't get a full wet race. Some rain, I've got no problem with, but a full wet race, that lends itself to absolute tedium. Just ask James Head from Mexico last week in Division 1. So let's see what the weather's looking like, and it's nice and dry, but it's looking a little bit cloudy. I think when you get that sort of hazy sort of sheen over the sky, I think that is to tell us it's very cloudy conditions on track. So there might be some rain coming, I don't know, maybe I'm treading on the backside. But anyway, we've got a 19-car grid. Let me run you through the standings. Ariel Felipe still leads the championship. He has 151 points. Fifth place finish in Mexico last week. He was 10th at Portugal the week before, just 13 points from his last two races. Meanwhile, the man behind him, QVR Cross Captain, has picked up 33 points from the last two races. Three podiums in a row. No, make that 4 podiums in a row, going back to Bahrain as well, with the sprint race there. He's 9 points behind. That's the smallest that Felipe's lead has been in the championship since his sprint race and Grand Prix double at China. Who's second in the sprint race, won in the Grand Prix. Luke's now up to third with 111 points. He's took P2 last week. Larkin DNF'd, of course, Mexico late on. He's in fourth in the championship, still on 104 points, just 7 points in 3 races for Larkin. How he needs a turn of fortune. While the man in form is Ariel Tebram, isn't it, Jack? 51 points from his last 2 races, 2 victories, including a fastest lap point as well at Mexico. He's on 99 and very much setting himself up for a bit of a late charge in this championship picture.
Yeah, no, he certainly is, and yeah, as you say, he's been very quick over these past 2 races. Of course, the reason why is because he won them both. But I think Portimao, he actually got that on Stewart's inquiry, but at Mexico, he was just in a class of his own. I think, from what I remember, it was about a 20-second lead he built up after each of the safety cars, like added up together. So, yeah, I wonder if he's going to be able to replicate that tonight. Obviously, it's another street circuit, and well, we saw what he did around Monaco. Well, I didn't see, but you saw what he did around Monaco. Ended up finishing on the top as well. Lifebout, as I don't know if you alluded to it, but he has a qualifying ban, so he's not going to be able to. Well, he's probably going to be down towards the back end of the grid for this evening. And we'll see if he's able to try and make a charge, because again, he's another one. He's only done 2 or 3 races in Division 2, and he's always been towards that top end of Division 2 since he came in from Division 4, by the way. So I think it must have just been a bit of bad judgment from us all putting him in Division 4. But yeah, he's always been towards the top end. So from him to be starting at the back of the grid, Sen as well, retiring from the session, yeah, I think it's going to be a bit of a tall order for Lifebout, but we did it in Division 1, so it can happen, can't it?
Anything can happen. Lifebout's another one who, I think the pad tracks the wheelie tracks do tend to play into his hands. He had a very strong performance at Imola before he crashed out instantly. We're on board with Ariel Felipe just coming through the second sector now. It's a never-ending sequence of corners. They all arrive at you very quickly. You see Evans Joshua there, how he needs some luck. He crashed on the exit, on the entry of turn 9. That's really hampered Felipe Black. He wasn't sure whether he was ghosted or not, and then I think he just clipped the wall on the way into 10. So this will be a bit of a compromised lap for Felipe, but we'll stick with it. Across the Anderson Bridge, and then you want to take as wide a line in to turn 13 as possible. Open up the corner, pick up the throttle nice and early, which is why you'll see cars, if you go on board, running that inside right wall on the way into turn 13. Very close. And then come to the left side of the track for 40, open up the corner, use as much as you can on the exit, and then sweep back to the left-hand side for this very tricky little chicane. If you use the curves too much here, particularly running a low ride height, they can send you skittling in a bit of a straight line. Lick sets first lap of the day, a 37.2, immediately lowered by Reservoir by half a second. We've got a yellow flag, that's just someone getting out of someone else's way. Felipe's just got 2 corners to go, 22 and 23. Easy for the rear to let go of you. Doesn't for Felipe this time. He goes P2 with a 36.8.
Yeah, not a bad lap at all. Putting it at the P2 as you say. I think Topa's just going to be our next one across the line. 37.2 for the Williams. I can't lie, Jay. I know I didn't exactly do the best time again in Division 1, but I feel like these are a lot slower than what I was expecting. And I think purely the reason why, I think there's going to be a few people that will try and do something kind of similar to what we may have done for this evening. We might see a couple people go, or might have seen a couple people go for the harder tyre strategy. I think Larkin might even be one of them. Majority of people will still probably go for the balance, because then they get 2 options of the medium compound tyre. And from what we've learned, the mediums, they look like they go for quite a distance in the race, but they do tend to drop off relatively quickly. So I will be surprised, or I won't be surprised, sorry, if there are a very small population of people on here that have actually gone for the harder set of tyres, shall I say, for this evening. But grid's starting to take a bit of shape now. RJ down in P10 has done a slower time, ironically, than Larkin on the mediums. But Reservoir still sitting on top at the moment. Any sort of surprises in this qualifying so far for you?
Excuse me, I've got COVID. I'll say RJ actually. He was saying yesterday proudly, as we've got the Williams of Tobe very much in the Scream's way there, coming out of turn 13. It's not particularly quick lap from Scream, that has to be said, so let's go on board with Luke instead, who's coming to the line now. Yeah, RJ, he was saying yesterday, there's no skill in this game, there's no skill gap at all, it's just sweat. So, you know, he's not helping his case there as Luke goes P9 and 37.5. I'm surprised that T-Brum's not broken into 36s on his first attempt. And like you said as well, I'm surprised collectively that we're not closer to the low watermark of D1. We started 14th, 15th. I did a 36.3, and that was 14th in D1. And usually you'll see a fair bit of overlap between the bottom of D1 and the top of D2. That's not really manifesting here, at least on the first runs. But I did a 36.3, was P14. Reservoir's P1 right now on a 36.7, 4 tenths down. So D2 doesn't seem to be really fit to polish the boots of Division 1 this week, but we'll see how that changes later in the session. We have got quite a few drivers, 6 of them, who haven't set lap times yet. You mentioned Lifeout has a qualifying ban, so he won't be going out other than to lock in his setup. Evans and Sen have retired, and we've now got Brent, who's out of sync, who I think is just going out for his first lap now. And Larkin, of course, worth mentioning, you said, hasn't set a lap time on the soft tyres yet. So we're just in a bit of a lull with no one on a quick lap right now.
Yeah, no, of course, and yeah, I think there's a couple of people, as you say, that are on out laps. Felipe, I think he also just said in the Discord as well that he did get slightly blocked by, I say slightly blocked, he actually got completely blocked by Evans within this first sector. So I think Felipe is thinking that he can go quicker and almost just getting brake checked by, I think that was Coxey, just out in front of them, the two good friends, just having a nice little drive around Singapore in that first sector. But yeah, I think Felipe was, as you were saying, he did get blocked by Evans on that run, and still putting it in P2 with 36.8. I think there is a lot of time for Nolan to be able to get up ahead of Reservoir. I feel like this might surprise. Well, it's kind of surprising me, but I feel like Nolan might actually be very quick around here. A lot of people would say that Singapore is like a wheel track, and I suppose it pretty much is, because it's a nice little tight street circuit, but Nolan does seem to have quite a decent pace here. In qualifying, at least anyway, I'm not too sure about the race, but in qualifying he looks already early on have a decent bit of pace, so I don't want to put any pressure on him, but it sounds like I'm putting pressure on him. I feel like he might be one of our ones to win it for this evening and end that podium drought that he's had.
He did end the podium drought, but it was through a steward's decision at Imola. He got P3, but he's still not actually finished in the podium on track since China. So he has still got technically a bit of a podium drought going on. And we'll have a look at Ariel Coxey. Brent aborted his lap, wasn't going particularly well for him. He wasn't invalid, just wasn't very quick. He did a 27.4 in the first sector, which is 6 tenths down really on where you want to be. You want to be doing at least 26.8 there. Coxey's got an Alpine there on the right side of his screen, who stays well out of the way, and then a Red Bull who does the same, and then another Red Bull up at him. Can he get into the 26s in the first sector? Doesn't have a lap time on the board yet. There's a 27.1. Meh is the word I would use to describe that. What can Felipe do behind him? A 26.894 up by 700ths of a second. And you say you think it'd be quite quick. I think Felipe and Larkin, I mean, they're both naturally very quick. I think they're quite good, what I call plug and play drivers. They don't need to practice to get good. They are naturally just very quick off the bat when they load the game up, regardless of how long ago they played it. I think that plays into your advantage, particularly at this stage of the season, second season syndrome, where not necessarily everyone is feeling the need to practice, and everyone is just plugging and playing. It does lend itself to those people who can just pick up a pad or a wheel and just go for it and see what can happen. Let's just quickly check in with Coxey, who's coming towards the line now, 4.3 through the middle sector. Coxey has got no pace at all here on this lap. Clobbers the curb on the inside, coming into the little tunnel there at turn 18, and then just 20 and 21, 22 and 23 to go. Licks has gone fastest. That's not something we've said too often this season, with a 36.5. Coxey, what's he going to do? 37.4 goes P9, and then Felipe P2, improves by 2 tenths, 36.6.
Yeah, decent time from Felipe. From Licks though, again, was not expecting that. 36.5. I mean, I said Nolan as well is going to be a good one. I wasn't expecting Licks, I can't lie. So if that is going to be the case, if Licks has got that pace, which is already showing that way, but if he can keep that pace going for this evening, then especially in the race, I feel like he might be a bit of a dark horse going into this one. But T-Brum, the past 2 race wins that he's had, he's maybe going to try and go for the turkey of race wins, and he is about a tenth and a half up on his time currently, and it might have been his first sector that did let him down. Stick on board, or just sticking on board with the relentless driver at the moment, as he's just making his way through the Anderson Bridge now, trying to get the best run as much as possible. And there is one thing to note as well, you do derate towards the end of the lap. I think we saw quite a few of that within Division 1 as well. I don't know if he was picking up on it, but yeah, you can derate towards the end of the lap, and there you go, 36.532, 14 thousandths up ahead of Licks, and T-Brum straight back onto the top of the grid at the moment, and you know he's going to try and come for that come for Luke for this evening. He's only 12 points behind Luke, so there is a chance to jump up ahead of him at the end of this race.
I mean, it's very impressive that T-Brum is quickest, but I thought he'd be walking clear of the field this evening. 14 thousandths of a second clear of Licks. We've got a yellow flag. That's just McLaren get away. Cost Capper to the line, improves by under a tenth to 36.8. Yeah, I thought, and Chris betters him, 36.808 for him. Luke then also improves. He goes to 37.1. We've got an Aston Martin coming to the line. That is Darry goes P7 36.9. And then the next car across the line is not the Ferrari Reservoir because he is on an in-lap. So I think that may be it for our second run. So we've got the screen. He's 300s up. Let's see what he can do now coming through turns 22, 23. Really chuck the car in. Use all of the track on the exit if you can. And improves by a quarter of a second for the screen. Fair improvement. Only good enough for P14 though at 37.5. Yeah, I don't know if you'd agree, but I thought T-Brum would be walking clear of the field here. Given that his dominance at Monaco, I know you weren't there, but he was clear of the field by about 30 seconds. He was completely unchallenged that day. Very quick at Portugal last week. Very quick at Imola as well. Mexico. Not Imola. Mexico, we saw him walking away from the field. I thought he'd have a good 2 or 3 tenths on anyone on this grid in qualifying. Doesn't seem to be the case though.
Yeah, it doesn't, and it's going to be quite nice to see him actually try and battle with a few of the guys. I mean, at the same time, he does live in Canada, so internet-wise, it might be a bit of a struggle for the likes of Blix, Nolan, Reservoir to try and battle with him, but probably still be able to make it work. We do it with Izzat in Division 1, so I suppose it could be, you should be able to deal with it with T-Brum in here for this evening, and throughout the rest of the season as well. But one other one to quickly note as well, Sweet Ross going up into P5, got just besting his teammate of 36.779, and then completely cutting the track to get himself back into the pits. Not meant to do that, yeah, might be something interesting as he actually spins going out of the hairpin, so I suppose that kind of makes up for the track cutting that he's just done. But yeah, I'm quite surprised we haven't got really anybody other than our championship leader out on an outlap for their final runs, because we want to try and have as much clear track as possible, and we know Nolan usually tries to go out early just to set the pressure high on everybody else, but at the same time, and probably wants a bit of stream time, but yeah, at the same time, a lot of people, it's going to be so much easier when you're just in clear track and you're not, because Singapore's quite a tight circuit. You want to be able to try and have as much leniency on the track as possible. Even on a straight line, it's, especially around Singapore and other street circuits, it can put you off. So yeah, it's surprising to me that it's only still Nolan and I think a couple other people now coming out, Coxie, and I've seen Mercedes, I believe that is Brent coming out of the pits as well. So yeah, we'll see how our championship leader's going to do on his final run here, Jay. Do you reckon he's going to best up ahead of T-Brum and Licks?
No.
Never mind.
No, is the answer. He goes invalid, he'll immediately turn his ERS off, and he has done that, and he'll bring... The trouble is, though, your tyres wear quite heavily here, to be honest. I mean, we did one lap on our tyres in qualifying, and then when we put them on, they were on like 10%, weren't they, in the race? And the drop-off we saw in the race as well, on the soft, medium, and the hard, on all 3 tyres, is very high. So those soft tyres, whatever Nolan could get out of them on the next lap, it's not going to be really anything near what the absolute potential. So he's going to go for his last run here with a hand tied behind his back, but an easy mistake to make. I think if I was to peg places on this track in order of where you're likely to go invalid, turn 2 is very much up there. Because it's so flat, you don't have to ride the curb like you do other corners, like you do turn 1 or turn 3, where it's a bumpy sort of 3-dimensional curve. Completely flat at turn 2, so it's very easy and very inviting to just run the car out there. Has anyone started a lap? Has Coxie? Coxie's about to start a lap, so let's go on board with Coxie, and hopefully he can set a good lap. He went P9 last time that effort. He's since dropped to 12th, and he's gone invalid at turn 2 as well. So who can we pick up? I think our first one is actually going to be Felipe again here, Jack, for another run. So let's have a look towards turn 1 and let's see what he can do this time. Keeping the car safely in bounds through 22 and 23. He'll have less fuel for this lap, which is to his advantage, starting with 1.5 laps of fuel. Coming into turn 1, you can see he's much more giving with the curb, and then invalid again at turn 2. So I think it's going to be Resify as Coxey retires on track.
Yeah, he's dropped it. He's dropped it out of turn number. Dropped it out of turn 8, shall I say, sorry. Brent, I think, is actually going to be our first one to come across the line. So looking a little bit slow and a little bit shaky throughout the first sector, 27.2 in that first sector. Probably not looking too hot at the moment. But at the same time, I think it's return of Brent, actually. I think this is his first race in, like, past 4 or 5 races, if I'm not mistaken. So it's nice to see him back. Although I say that the last four races he did before the 4 he didn't do. He's DNF'd them all. So yeah, hopefully he's able to try and pick up some sort of points, because then he picked up 15 points in Japan, and as I say that, he's dropped it coming under the coming through the bridge section, or one of 2 bridge sections, shall I say. So yeah, Brent, I think, is going to be starting towards the back end of the field. Lifeboat, of course, you know, as I said, with that qualifying ban, he's not going to be able to, or didn't end up going out, so he's going to be starting in 16th or 17th once Brent does complete his lap, because at least if he completes his lap, he is going to jump 3 positions anyway.
Resify is up by 6/10 of a second. This could be a 36-1 from him. Lix was also improving, but I don't think he was improving by that much. But Resify, sorry to interrupt you, is on for an absolutely pole-shattering lap here.
Yeah, we'll stick on board with him then. As you say, a couple more corners left to go for number 2, turn 22 and turn 23. Nolan makes his way into the pits. Resify, though, around the final 2 corners and up towards the line comes Resify. It's in the 35 straight, a 35.9. That's 6/10 faster than anybody else. T-Brom's invalidated on his lap. Lix is on the front row, a 36.3 for his final run in Q3. Luke goes up into 3rd, a 36.517 as well. A few more guys making their way around the final corner. Koskappen up into P5 at 36.563. I think there's an Aston Martin of Darry also making his way up towards the line. Up to P3 he goes. Chris as well up towards the line into P2. So a lot of improvements now going on here, Jake. And in fact, one of the Williams is also making their way up towards the line. That was Das Screen, not improving on his time. And I think that, who was that just improved on that time there? I think it was Larkin going up to P8.
Oh, Sweet Ross into
36.605.
Yeah, Sweet Ross just couldn't hook up the last corner and decided to. The wall was much more inviting than actually finishing the lap. But that is qualifying. T-Bravo, you mentioned Ballard, he comes into the pit lane. It's a Reservoir on pole from Chris, from Lix, from Darry. A top 4 you probably didn't see coming, although we have seen Reservoir up top in qualifying a lot this season. He's not translated into points. He sits 10th in the championship. He has got a podium to his name at Japan. But that is that's all he can speak for himself. But he has a lot of good qualifying performances. I think Canada springs to mind. I think he was up near the sharp end. Chris is good as well. Lix, he's not used to being up there in the front half grid. Darry finally showing some of that pace that perhaps justified him being in D1 at the start of the season. And Luke in 5th as well. Larkin perhaps paying the price for not having an extra lap, or having it being a lap short of everyone else in terms of his tyre allocation. Felipe seemed a little bit nervous with that back-to-back invalidations at turn 2. I think this is set up for a very spicy race. But we apart from Evans, I don't think we saw any crashes in that session. So it's Resify on pole from Chris completing the front row, and then in row 2 is Lix and Darry. Luke and T-Brum on row 3. Koskappen is in 7th. Him and T-Brum, sparring partners last week, 2 weeks ago at Portugal, were lining up alongside each other once again. Larkin's 8th, Felipe's 9th, Sweet Ross at 10th, then Tope, RJ, Coxey, Rex, Screen, Brent, Lifeboat with the qualifying ban, Evans with his crash. And did Sen have a qualifying ban as well, or did he just retire in the pit lane?
He did have a qualifying ban as well, yeah.
Checks out. So it was just Evans who was the only one person to retire in that session, which I have to say, very impressive. We didn't see, I know, who was it that went round? Sweet Ross turned 13. We didn't see too many spins in that session either, did we? People kept it quite impressively clean for Singapore. And just to confirm, for the avoidance of doubt, it is an all-dry session, confirmed by Larkin in the stream. And Brent says, I am actually stupid. Sorry for the anticlimax. Nolan says Evans ruined a flyer. And then Nolan ruined his own last 2 laps by going wide at turn 2. So there we go. We can all play the blame game. What do you think the tyre split's going to be, Jack? Do we think we'll see anyone start on softs or mediums, or is it hards all the way?
I think we're going to see quite a lot of hards. We might see mediums for the guys at the front. I can see it in, I think that's the Mercedes garage. It looks like there's medium tyres that are being put on for one of the drivers. So it might be mediums for a couple of them. Let's have a quick look, shall we? Larkin and Coxey, the only two that aren't on a set of hards. Coxey's on a set of softs, and Larkin's on a set of mediums. So could be a bit of an interesting one for this evening. I'll tell you what also is a bit interesting. 5th down to 9th is our top 5 in the championship, but they're in a bit of a jumbled up order here though, Jake. You know, Luke's obviously leading them all there. This might be an opportunity for one of these top, one of the top 4 to, you know, get a win. I don't think any of them, if I'm not mistaken, have a win this season that are in the top 4.
Absolutely cracking stat. Cracking spot there. The top 5 in the championship is 6th to 9th on the grid. Our top 4, none of them have a win. You are absolutely spot on. Reservoir said his best result was a P2 at Japan. Chris, his best result was a P3 at Bahrain. No, it wasn't a P3 because it was a sprint race, so he's not at a podium at all. Lick's best result is a P7 at Canada. And Darry's best result, since he's joined us, is a P6 at Portugal. Not particularly impressive CVs there in the top 4 on the grid, but it's Singapore, anything can happen. Me and you got a podium in D1, I wouldn't put it past any single person on this grid getting a strong result here. Interesting with the top 5 in the championship you mentioned, sorry, from 5th to 9th, not 6th to 9th, with Luke there, customary leading the formation up as he does, is people like Luke, Larkin and T-Brown, really, they need snookers now to win this championship. If they want to put a fight together in the last 6 races, including today, they need snookers. They need Felipe to DNF. They need Koskap to DNF. They can't really do it on their own 2 legs now. They need help from elsewhere. And maybe that'll make them a little bit feistier, do you think, in the battle to come? J. Cole. We'll assume J. Cole's not here. Right, so we've got Evans donutting, pirouetting into his grid spot. Now, Luke very much out of position on the grid. We've got Reservoir on pole, Chris is in second. It's the Singapore Grand Prix, it's round 12 of Division 2 in League of Europe. And we are lights out and underway. That looked like a sluggish start from Chris, but it wasn't. He's just slowing in position. That Alfa Romeo of Lixo getting absolutely swallowed up in the midfield. Redsfire leads from Rix. Can we get a good camera angle, please? We've got T-Bron up the inside of Koskappen into turn 3. Tags the back of the Red Bull. I think it's tagged himself by Lix. Larkin's made up in complaisance. He's into P6 here. And he's battling away with Koskappen round the outside of the Red Bull. And I think the Red Bull and Larkin got to turn around. Absolute carnage here. 5 cars out in one collision. No safety car. 5 cars out in one corner, including 3 of our championship contenders. Brent's winning streak ends here. 5 cars out, 1 corner at turn 5. Now we get a virtual safety car, and I think that might even be for a secondary contact further up the field. And now we've got a full safety car. That was very delayed in coming out, but oh my word, I would love to see some POVs from that, because we got a shocking view on stream. But I think what started it was Larkin and Koskappen was side by side into 5. Larkin was sweeping around the outside. Koskappen was a little pinched up the inside. There was just a bit of contact. They both went round, and then it's a narrow track. I think they were just collected by everybody else. They didn't ghost. Everyone else just collected them, and that was that. Or have we got a restart?
Surely that's not a restart. That's not going to be a restart, is it?
Just because Larkin's left the session as the host.
No, it's not a restart. They're actually quite angry in the chat. So
yeah, it's just rage.
I don't know what had happened. I think from what I saw, right, I as you said, both Larkin and Koskappen, both side by side, and then I saw T-Brum look like he went sort of straight on. I don't know. T-Brum, as I said, looked like he went straight on. That screen got collected in that, and so did Coxie. So now everybody's on a set of the hard. Safety car is out. Did anybody else also pick up any sort of damage? Our championship leader, I feel like might have done. Tope's coming. Lifebout's also followed him in. Sweet Ross also coming in. They're the only guys that have made their way into the pits. So I'm intrigued. Did any of them actually pick up any sort of wing damage? Because that was massive carnage. I know Sen did also pick up damage because he was also collected within that. But he also, well, luckily, wasn't DNF'd. Let's have a look. Did any of them actually get wing damage? Nolan didn't. He's just coming in for a fresh set of mediums. Lifebout did. He's now been jumped by Tope. Tope also did. I think all of the guys behind them did. Behind Nolan, picked up damage. So that's 9 drivers on the first lap that picked up. No, sorry, 10 drivers on the first lap that picked up damage, which is insane.
I don't even know where to begin deconstructing what happened on that lap. We need a good 4 or 5 POVs there. Because that was absolutely bonkers, just bonkers. But you know, we'll see what comes of it in the future. If anyone is apportioned blame. So your order is Resify, Chris, Darry is up into P3 from 4. Lick's expense. Lick had an absolutely awful start, went nowhere, did the Alfa Romeo. He's done well to hold on to P6, although that was in part due to Larkin and Koskapin's demise. Rex has jumped his teammate, he's in 5th. Luke's gained a place as well, up from 5th. RJ, I think, and Evans are big gamers in this. Felipe down a couple. Lifebout, by virtue of having had a quali ban and 5 cars retiring, has been the big gainer from this. But I don't necessarily think he'll be feeling it, but he's sitting in P11. He's in a position now where he can probably try and make something happen. Everybody you mentioned was a hard starter in this field, is left running, but 6 of them have had to change onto the mediums. So I think that's going to set up an interesting dynamic between. Well, effectively, everybody's one-stopping from here. Although Felipe is going back onto his hards, but everyone is effectively one-stopping from here. You think the medium runners will go medium, because they have 2 sets of mediums available, and the hard runners will go hard-medium. And Sen is coming in as well, so they'll effectively run hard-medium from here. So everyone's on an effective one-stop to the end of the race, whether that's hard to medium or medium to hard or medium to medium. But I'm intrigued. If you're Tope, Lifebout, Ross, or Brent, or Felipe has actually put another set of mediums on, are you going medium from here, or are you going medium hard?
That's tough. That is tough. I would probably say you're going to have to probably do medium. It's definitely doable. So, yeah, medium is definitely going to be the easiest one to go ahead with. I said it was 10 cars on the start that picked up damage on the first lap. Nolan did just come in and change his front wing, so he also had damage. That's 11 cars on the first lap that had damage, and he's just come in just to change on a fresh set of mediums. Evans has dropped it under the safety car and has now also got damage, so that's now 12 cars that's had damage in the space of 3 laps on in Division 2.
He's got a problem as well, because the safety car isn't going to stay out another lap for him. He'd have to drop to the back of the field, create a massive gap to keep the safety car out a lap, so he can. No, we've already had the message, it's coming in. So Evans is a little bit in the mud there. Larkin did send us his POV of the collision. It seems to be, it was, as I said, the contact between Larkin and Koskapin is what caused it. Whether you blame Larkin or Koskapin for that, for the students to decide. I thought, my instinct is that perhaps it was a little bit naive of Koskapin to be up the inside of Larkin there, because Larkin was a part of a car length ahead, and given how tight that corner is and how narrow it is, I think it was and the curb is so bumpy and awful, I think it was a bit naive of Koskapin. It's my gut reaction, but we have got 14 cars still racing, and they're about to get underway. It's Reservoir and Chris and Barry and Luke who's going to lead them away, and Reservoir has gone very early into turn 22, and he has absolutely gapped Chris here towards turn 1, wheeling to try and get some tyre temp in, but he's 8 tenths of a second clear. And look at Rex here, right behind Luke into turn 1, but not able to do anything about it. But are there any moves shaping up further down the field? I don't think so. Toby's our first medium runner, and I thought RJ had a bit of a snap there into turn 4, but he held it well. And and up ahead we have got, I thought I saw 2 cars side by side then. I didn't see 2 cars side by side. It's Sweet Ross and Lifebout down through Rattles in the line into turn 6 towards turn 7. Is Brent going to have a look up the inside of Lifebout here? He is, you know, and in contact between them possibly. Lifebout just comes up ahead. Felipe is now going to send it up the inside of Brent, and Brent, they take each other out there at turn 8, and Brent nearly sails straight into the back of the Haas. And the fact he's nearly sailed into the back of the Haas, and yet Felipe still managed to plough him into the wall. I don't think Felipe's got damage from that, you know. Not visible damage.
Yeah, it's not visible, but
probably some side pod damage.
It's the 4th lap, and we're just seeing carnage again. I mean, it's good for viewing, but at the same time,
we need cars to view.
Yeah, exactly. And at the moment, we've already lost 5 of them in that first lap. So I'll tell you what, though, Chris has well and truly been dropped by Reservoir. Reservoir has had a very good restart in comparison to everybody else behind him. Darry as well, just done his best to try and keep up to the back of Chris. I don't think we're going to see many overtakes going down before the DRS is enabled. It also allows Chris just to, play a bit of a fiddle, try and, kind of keep everyone at bay together. But it just means if he does that, then Reservoir is just going to kind of run away from it as Nolan gets past Brent, as Brent is actually into the pit. So Brent did pick up damage from that. Yeah, I don't know if Nolan did pick up damage because he's just gone purple in sector 3. So I think he managed to come away unscathed with it. But I think we're about to see a move go down here, Jay. Tope on RJ. He is using, he wasn't using that ERS. I don't think RJ's using either. They're both not using, but Tope has got the softer tyre. I thought we was going to see a dive down in towards turn number 7, but no, RJ just stays up ahead of the German for the time being. But yeah, very, very messy restart. Towards the back end of the field, towards the front end, it's just been relatively clean ever since, but yeah, towards the back end, very, very messy to say the least. And Rex losing out quite a bit of time to Blimp as well in front.
I think when you have a 5-car collision, just instantly wipes out 5 drivers, and 3 of them are very quick, as is the case with Larkin, Koskapin and T-Brum. I think it just makes everyone else think, I can get a good result here. It makes everyone else feel a little bit more on the front foot, a little bit more aggressive, a bit more racy, and these incidents beget incidents, I think, in league races particularly. And we'll just see how this one evolves. Tope is sticking to the back of that Red Bull like absolute super glue. A bit of PVA, a bit of Pritt stick there, coming through the final sector, through turns 20 and 21 now, and this is the closest battle on front. The top 3 have all gapped themselves by at least a second from one to the next, and Lix, as you mentioned, is dropped well off the back of Rex. You said Rex was dropping off Luke. Lix has dropped well off Rex, and I wonder, maybe Lix picked up maybe a little bit of damage something or somewhere. Evans has retired on track. That could be another safety car. Thankfully it's not. But yeah, Lix's pace, compared to what we saw in qualifying, is not on it, seems to be, today in the race. But he might have got caught up in the lap 1 melee. As well, look at Tope up the inside of RJ on into turn 7. He gets that move done. RJ turns into him a little bit on the harder tyres, but there's nothing he can do with the slower rubber, as you mentioned, Jack. And he's going to have to concede P7. He's got to be very careful now about a Swee Ross just behind him.
Yeah, he does need to be careful of that as well. So we'll see if Tope's going to be able to make up any more positions for the time being. Like you say, everybody is still technically on like a one-stop strategy. Tope is going to go for another set of mediums, I would have thought anyway, on his pit stop, because as you say, everybody did start on set of the hards, other than both Coxie and Larkin, and they're both out of the race. So yeah, we'll see what they're able to do. Like you say, Evans, our 6th retiree in lap number 5, shall I say, sorry. So, yeah, a bit of an update on up in front though. Chris now 2 seconds behind Resify. Dari has managed to keep within DRS of Chris, but Chris is looking to try and get a bit more away. And in fact, as I say, that German almost dropping out of DRS, but I think he's got a better run through the Anderson Bridge there. So, yeah, we'll see if Dari's able to keep in that DRS. I think he has just about. And yeah, Resify is absolutely storming away from Chris at the moment. And yeah, Dari just managing to keep DRS. Both keeping that ERS as well. That's something very important around here because it's not easy whatsoever to keep ERS. If you use a little bit of it, then it's pretty much gone. You're not getting that back unless it's a safety car. So yeah, it's quite important that they're all keeping their ERS. It's just, has anybody sort of tried to burn a lot of it? I think Rex is one of the only, Rex is the one that's got the lowest, 13%, and then I think his teammate is the second lowest on 20%. So 2 Alfa Romeos, not looking very hot on the ERS front, so it could be a bit difficult for them to go on a bit of an attack, but they should have a DRS, and with Luke not in DRS of Dari, it could be a bit easier for him to try and get past, but at the same time, he can use the ERS just to defend from the 2 Alfa Romeos. Yeah, he needs to try and, preserve a bit more of that ERS if they can, both of the Alfa Romeos. Otherwise, Toby's, well, you can see it, Toby's just snipping the pair of them.
I'm tempted to say that Lix isn't actually slow, that he just made a mistake somewhere that was what caused the gap to Rex, because he's reeled his teammate right back in. I know you say he's used some ERS, but still, he very quickly straight back onto the back of Rex. And Rex is really struggling to stay with Luke as well. Luke's at risk of being in a very lonely race here. He's not really got the pace of those ahead of him, nor is he as slow as those behind him. Tope continues to be the man on a mission. He's dispatched RJ, not an easy track to overtake on mind, but he's now hunting an Alfa Romeo. Sen is now out of the race at turn 18, and that's another safety car. And Resify is going to catch the safety car here. So anyone who comes in now, Lifebout is going to make a big gain here, because he'll be able to come out of the pits and catch up. They won't be held to a delta. So Lifebout and Felipe may have just won big in this race, because they'll be able to switch on to hards and catch back up to the train completely by the time the leaders get back round to the pit lane entry line. And that's an awful place. We saw it in Formula 2 in midweek, where Campbell got absolutely ruined by a safety car that came out. He had such a big lead. The safety car came out as he was coming around the last corner. He caught up to the safety car by the time of turn 1, so he was held behind the safety car for an entire lap, while everyone else was able to come in and then subsequently catch back up on their out laps, whereas Campbell was limited by the safety car's pace. And that's the trouble. If the safety car comes out and you've passed pit exit, everyone's held to a delta. You don't lose out if you're out in front and you've missed pit entry. But if you pass pit entry but not pit exit by the time safety car comes out, the safety car is there, you get caught behind it, you're stuck at safety car pace, no one else is, they're allowed to catch up, no one else is deltaed, and then you get ruined. And it's allowed Lifebout here and Felipe to put themselves in a very good position if they can catch up to our leaders by the end of this lap.
Yeah, and I think that was a bit more of a blessing in disguise, because what happened was both Lifebout and Felipe, when I was looking at their pit stops, they both had to change their front wings, so they must have gotten involved in that collision with Sen potentially, or they might have just hit the wall on their own accord, and that's what made them both have to pit. So again, I feel like it might be a slight blessing in disguise that the pair of them end up getting involved with their front wings coming off, or part of their front wing coming off, because now Lifebout is onto the back of the safety car, Felipe is only a couple corners away from the back of the safety car, and they put on a fresh set of hards and 1 lap of hards, which they can take, I believe, to the end. So they are going to be in a very advantageous position. I think the guys that are on the medium still, both Tope and Sui Ross, they're going to be staying out and they're going to try and go for another set of mediums. They're still technically within the strategy of the rest of them, but Lifebout and Felipe are on an absolute blinder of a strategy. It was very similar to how you and me had it in Division 1 as well here, Jake. So we'll see how Lifebout and Felipe are going to be able to be towards the end of the race. But Resify, he is looking on form at the moment in this race. especially only after a couple of laps. Was it 3 seconds he got the gap up to Chris? So, yeah, I think Reserfy, even with both Lifeboat and Felipe making those pit stops to go to the end of the race as long as they don't damage their wings, they have Reserfy still has got a good chance of a podium for this evening. I wouldn't rule them out.
I wouldn't rule him out of victory either, to be honest, given the potentiality for further safety cars. But Lifebout and Felipe are very much a net 1 and 2 now. They're the only drivers, along with... well, actually, I'm not sure I'd put Brent in that category. They are the only 2 drivers, I'd say, in the field right now who absolutely do not have to make another pit stop. Under no circumstances do they have to make another pit stop. They can get to the end. They'll be slow, but they're on a strategy that is relatively normal. The top 6 will all have to pit for mediums at some point, and if there isn't another safety car, that's a 27-second loss. That'll set them back. So which, even if Reserfy gaps Felipe by 15 seconds the next 10 laps, he's still going to find himself 12 seconds behind Felipe, and then even further behind Lifebout when he comes out and makes his stop, which means he's got to then cut those 12 seconds and then overtake them on track, and it's not an easy track to overtake on, by which time his mediums might have had that be well past their best. So if there is no other safety car, in normal circumstances, I don't see anything other than a Lifebout and Felipe 1 and 2 here. But you only need to look at the left side of your screen to see that 7 drivers have already failed to finish this race to know that this is not normal circumstances. Reserfy is going to get us underway for the second time. He caught Chris napping first time around. Can he do the same once again? Keep an eye on Tope. He was making good progress beforehand, or he looked particularly the sharpest, and he has gone very early for his fight, and again he has caught Chris absolutely napping. And look at Darry right on the back of the Alpine, and then goes deep into 22, and that ruins any chance he has. And mind that, when Lix goes round at the last corner, he's backwards down the pit straight. And behind them, look at Sweet Ross up the inside of RJ into turn 1. He makes a move for P7, goes off track to do it. But there it's through. Look at Lifebout now. He's going to try nab RJ on traction. Is it going to be similar to Larkin and Koskapany around the outside? No, RJ backs out sensibly so, and Lifebout immediately picks up 1 place, and probably on the best tyres in the field as well. With those 2-lap old hards, along with Brent and the 2-lap mins, Brent will probably be struggling like hell towards the end of this race if there's no further safety cars. Darry there set himself up so well for overtake, and then just got a bit excited and wet his pants a little bit and completely botched the final corner there.
Yeah, no, he certainly did. So I don't know why Darry did that, but I suppose maybe you just thought, yeah, I've got an opportunity, and just, yeah, as you say, absolutely bottled the opportunity. Lifebout might be looking for a move on Sweet Austin towards the hairpin, does not go for the move, but is he going to get the better traction in comparison to the Alpine? Yes, he does, and in fact, I think Lifebout's going to go down the inside here on Sweet Ross. Don't think Sweet Ross is going to try and fight that as a virtual safety car. Not sure what that's for. Did Lix have another spin?
Lix is missing his front wing, so Lix has spun at turn 11, just before the Anderson Bridge. Yes, I said it qualified, didn't I? He's nowhere near the front of races, is Lix. He had such a good qualifying session, and then he was just confounded with a terrible start, and then it's just gone from bad to worse for him now. And if he comes in, well, he's guaranteed points if he finishes the race, at least a point. But if he comes in and retires, we'll be down to just 11 in this race, and thankfully this is still only a virtual. But Rex, I think, is the one who needs to be watching his mirrors with Tope and Lifebout behind him when we get to a restart.
Yeah, so we'll see how it's going to go down. Lix is into the pits, changes his front wing, as you say. Back on the restart now. Chris actually had a better restart this time around, and so did Darry. Reservoir must have just been on the cusp of the delta, so might have had to slow down on the straight. But yeah, Chris definitely having a decent safety car restart, virtual safety car restart, shall I say, as well as Rex. He's managed to gain to the back of Luke now, and I wonder if the Americans are going to be able to try and keep there. The two that are left in the top 5 of the championship that are out on track are both the AlphaTauri, so they're going to get a massive gain if they could both at least finish in this race with a decent points margin as well, especially with what Nolan's doing on his strategy at the moment, and same with Lifebout. If Nolan does manage to, get ahead, jump up ahead of everybody else here, then yeah, it's going to be some very good points for both of the AlphaTauris for this evening. There's Lifebout all over the back of Tote. Are we going to see the Haas go for a move? No, we are not. He's just going to remain behind the medium runner for the time being. But Darry, so close to the back of Chris. And what are you seeing?
Sweet Ross just dropped it out of turn 14. Didn't hit the wall, but he lit up the tyres, and he's on 9-lap medium, so not a great contribution to his race, but it thins the train a little bit. It opens up a gap between RJ and Lifebout ahead of him.
Yeah, so RJ now needs to try and do a bit of work to try and catch up to the back of Lifebout, but 7-lap advantage tyres for Lifebout. It's going to be a bit difficult for the Red Bull driver to be able to try and catch up to the back of him, so it might be under pressure from Felipe, who's on fresher hards as well, and Brent on the fresher medium compound of tyres. So yeah, I think RJ's in for a bit of trouble going forward. But DRS now enabled. We'll see if there's going to be any moves going down towards turn number 7. If I had to have a look though, I think Lifebout on the back of Tote. I think Lifebout, especially with the ERS has got saved up. I think we're going to see the move here, Jake. He's actually closest to the DRS has Tote. Lifebout gets the move done up into 6th position. Now he's just got all the hard runners in front of him, and he's 7-lap fresher hards. I think Lifebout, even before any of them make their pit stop, I think could be close to maybe top 4, maybe even top 3 before they all start making their way in.
Yeah, I think that overtake is particularly ominous. It's not an easy track to overtake on. I know he had some ERS in his pocket, a lot of it in fact, but still, the fact he was so close to Tote off the back of turn 5, I think shows you just how confident Lifebout is right now. And he's already straight onto the back of Rex. He knows he doesn't need to make this risk though, given the strategy he's on. Surely he'll be aware of what a commanding position he's in this race. Effectively, Lifebout leads this race by a net 22 seconds right now. So Reservoir needs to get the hammer down. Lifebout's still searching for opportunity though. He's forcing Rex to take some lines he doesn't want to be taking. He's spooking that Alfa Romeo a little bit. And I don't know if you noticed, but he had a little celebratory wiggle as well when he passed Tote down the straight. I think Lifebout is absolutely loving this. He's lapping it up. He said a couple of weeks ago when he wasn't here, he said the grid is washed without him. And he certainly feels like he's the one putting on a show today. Coming around turn 22, look at the tighter line he can take than Rex there. And Rex is out of DRS of those ahead of him. This is going to be a very academic overtake for Lifebout this lap to make another position, to be up into P5, and with the field thinning ahead of him, it could be like taking candy from a baby here. He could just pick them off one by one by one, as Rex very out of sorts through 5. There's going to be another very straightforward overtake before they can get to the kink of 6. Lifebout's ahead, and he's through.
Yeah, Lifebout now in a P5, 2 more cars to go, and then I'll have my prediction right, but we'll see if he's able to do that. Darry's still in the DRS of Chris. Luke just about on the cusp of DRS of Darry's managed to keep up this time around, but I don't know, Luke is just not looking like he's got the pace in comparison to those guys out in front, as Nick's setting the fastest lap on the race, of course, on a flashy set of medium compounded tyre as well. Another thing to note, in fact, RJ has actually caught up to the back of Tote, interestingly enough. So yeah, Tote is within DRS of Rex, who's just got another taken by Lifebout, and in fact already a second behind Lifebout, so Rex is not enjoying life around the streets of Singapore, and yeah, already out of that DRS, so we might see Tote go for a move on Rex very, very soon. But we've also got to think, pit stops are going to be starting to make an impact soon as well. The guys that are on a set of the mediums, as I said, the likes of Tote, Brent, Sweeney Ross, and well, maybe Nix. I don't think he will come back in again for quite some time, but Tote and Sweet Ross for certain, they're going to have to make a pit, or start thinking about making a pit stop maybe around like 15, lap 16 to take the mediums to the end of the race. They're going to be, I don't know, they need to try and time it well so that they're not, that maybe go for a bit of an undercut on the guys that are on the set of hard, because then they at least have a bit more of a tyre advantage in comparison to those guys out in front of them. I mean, at the moment, the mediums are probably now worse than what the hards are, I'd probably have to say.
Lifebout just lighting up his tyres there. I don't know, to be honest with you, when the ideal pit lap is. I think D1 was so disrupted that I don't think we got a clear picture really of whether you should be pitting in a conventional hard to medium race, and that little mistake like that has cost him another overtake on this lap. Meanwhile, Rex, well, I think I overhyped that one when I said meanwhile, was vulnerable to Tope, and Felipe is vulnerable to Brent here. Brent nearly last lap, I was on board with him at turn 7, went so deep on the brakes and nearly just went straight into the back of Felipe there. As it is, I think on the medium tyres he's just looking for any opportunity, and he's looking a little bit ragged, a little bit desperate as Tope gets out of shape through turn 11, through the kink of 12 towards 13. Is RJ going to fancy a ascend? No, he's not, but this Rex train is where the action's at right now, and is anyone in a position with some nice traction off of turn 13 towards 14? I don't think so, but this DRS train is saving two people's bacon. It's saving Felipe's bacon, and I think it's saving RJ's bacon as well, because those guys don't look particularly quick right now, and you can see that Brent is the one who is most, I think, most racy right now. He's very close to the back of Felipe. Those medium tyres, only 6 laps old, working an absolute treat for him, but he needs to make some moves if he's going to make his strategy work at all. But I suppose, like those around him, Brent needs to make a pit stop. Everyone apart from Lifebound and Felipe need to make a pit stop. So he's not in that bad a position, but given he's on the mediums, I think Brent will be wanting to make an overtake or two, and I think that's just reflected in how aggressive he's being in his approach to some of these corners.
Yeah, no, he certainly is as well, and I think we're going to see a move go down here though, James. Lifebound on Luke for P4. Luke's using, Lifebound's using, Luke doesn't have the ERS. Lifebound does with the DRS around the outside, down the inside of the kink of 6, as Lifebound picks up a 3-second time penalty, cutting the inside of turn number 7. That's going to, I said that's going to hinder his chances. He's got the 3-second gap up ahead of Felipe. His worst nightmare would be a safety car, especially around now, because then the rest of the hard runners can all pit onto a fresh set of medium tyres. So yeah, I think Lifebound has got to hope that there isn't a safety car that comes out. If someone causes one, I think, as I said, he's just got to hope that those two that have happened already in this race are the only two that do happen within this race. Resify has built up a little bit more of a gap to Chris and Darry, but not by much. So I think Resify is now relatively on even pacing with Chris and Darry, as well as Lifebound and Luke as well. So yeah, I think the race is just now starting to die down a bit more until we start to see those pit stops come in, Jake. It's just 2 trains that are going on, not 2 chains, 2 trains that are going on at the moment, and one led by one led by Chris and one led by Rex. So we'll see if there's going to be any moves going down, but as I said, DRS train, usually there isn't, and the only one I can really think of is going to be Felipe on Tope. As I say that though, Lifebound and Darry, in fact Darry's into the pit, so Darry going to be our first pit stop onto the set of the medium compound tyre to go to the end. So I thought this might be a little bit early, but this might be the right call, especially going for an undercut around Singapore. Could very well play dividends for him.
I think so. I think he's recognised probably the threat approaching him in Lifebound. He thought, I don't need to lose time in that battle, or maybe he just thought this is the right moment. I don't know. Is there anything going on in this battle? No, they're all strung out in DRS train, although look at Brent actually coming up the inside of RJ to turn 7. Bang of wheels there, exchange of some paint, but Brent is through into P8, and he's immediately going to be hot onto the back of Felipe. But Felipe will know he's made his pit stop. These guys haven't. He doesn't need to get in any fireworks. I think we'll see the Felipe we've seen this season, where he's prone to jumping out of people's way. And I don't mean that in a negative way. I think it's the smart thing to do in this situation. It's what I would do. It's just it's only a problem. There's a safety car in the next couple of laps, but we'll see. Resify's lead over Lifebound is 3.2 seconds. Lifebound's taken 8/10 out of Resify in the last lap and is now straight onto the back of Chris, as you can see there. His gap to Felipe is 9.9. So where Lifebound has gained 9/10 in a lap, Felipe has lost 9/10 in a lap to Resify. He is losing a lot in that train. So any chance of winning this race, even with Lifebound's penalty, even if Lifebound gets a second penalty right now, chances of victory for Felipe are ebbing away quite a lot. Now 10.2. So he's 9 seconds behind as Chris comes into the pits. He's 9 seconds behind Lifebound. These guys were right together when the safety car came in, as Rex is in as well. Resify's in. They're all in. Felipe is released, but 9 seconds off the back of Lifebound.
Tell you what though, Luke, 2.3 seconds now behind Lifeboat. Lifeboat is on a mission, especially I know he's got that 3-second time penalty. He doesn't really need to worry about Luke, but yeah, he is on an absolute mission to try and win this race. You might be thinking that just in case he gets another penalty, he wants to try and race on ahead. Also, because as I say, if there's a safety car that comes out later on in this race, then that does ruin Lifeboat's chances of a race, well, a potential race win, shall I say. But yeah, as you say, now releases for Felipe, we'll now be able to see what he is able to do. He's got Brent still all over the back of him, Sweet Ross as well. I'm surprised Sweet Ross actually didn't pit on that lap. He might be pitting probably on this lap, but yeah, because Chris did pit on this lap as well. So yeah, Sweet Ross will more than likely pit at the end of this lap. But yeah, Brent also sticking to the back of Felipe. Brent again, I'm also quite surprised he hasn't made another pit stop yet onto the medium tyres. He may go in at this lap as well. Yeah, Felipe doesn't look as if he's losing touch with his teammate, but he is definitely losing time to Lifeboat out in front. But yeah, Nolan doesn't look like he's not slow by any means whatsoever. It's just Lifeboat is rapid.
I made a mistake. I said it was 9 seconds. It's not. It's 7.5 seconds. I was misreading. I thought I was on interval. I was on gap to leader, so I was adding the two gaps together. He's only 7.5 behind Lifeboat, which is still is a big amount to lose, but his immediate problem is DTR Brent right behind him on the medium tyre. Although if I'm Brent, I'm thinking, come in, but plug another set of mediums on that bad boy, and try not to lose ground behind him. Because what you'll notice, Resify will be, excuse me, COVID. Resify will be over 2 seconds a lap quicker than Felipe and Brent. I'll wager. He's already taken this more than a second out of Lifebout on his outlap, and that's an outlap where, for the first part of it, you have cold tyres. So I think he's going to be very, very quick. So if I'm Brent, I feel like he's missed his window here. He should have come in sooner, had a short run on those mediums, and then put his second set of mediums on and gone to the end and kept himself in that battle that's currently going down Raffles Boulevard. The longer he stays out, he's just going to give up time, because he can't be making those tyres to the end of the race, surely.
Yeah, no, they're definitely not going to be going to the end. I would have definitely thought that Brent would be pitting again soon, whether it's this lap, whether it's in a couple of laps' time. I'm not too sure. He's using the ERS to try and keep up with Nolan now, so it does indicate that his mediums are starting to die off. So yeah, it's definitely beneficial for Brent to make that pit stop, because again, he's just lost a second in this lap alone, and we're not even at the end of the lap as of yet. So yeah, Brent, if you got the stream on, definitely pit, because you're just losing time, and you're probably going to lose a handful of positions, maybe even 2 handfuls of positions at this point. Probably come out around where RJ and Licks are. If you do make that pit stop now, he probably should have pit on the last lap. He makes a bit of a mistake. He's staying out still, so yeah, maybe Brent is going to try and take this to the end then. I don't know. I would have thought he would have pit by now, but maybe he's going to try and take it to the end. It's a bit risky, because that's what, 23 laps?
If he's taking them, they'll be very slow, but I suppose his gap to Resify is 12.5 seconds, so a second a lap is what he'd have to lose. But Resify's done a 4.1. That is quick. That's some 2 seconds quicker than Lifebout, very nearly to Lifebout. Lifebout is quicker than Felipe and Brent by a fair yardstick as well. So I don't think Resify's going to catch these guys, but he may do. It depends what the drop-off is on Felipe's hards, and just how much Felipe's concentration goes. It's that kind of race. It's long. It's constant onslaught of corners. How much he can cope with the tyre sliding, how much his concentration slips, will depend on the minutiae of that. But Resify is 12 seconds behind Felipe. I think he may just make that up, It's going to be very close, but I think Resify might, given the pace he was showing anyway, I think he might just make that back.
There is definitely a chance. I mean, I just checked on Brent's last lap. He did a 42.9, so he was nearly 3 seconds in that lap slower than Resify, and again, he is just so slow through that final sector. Yeah, Brent is now finally coming in He's definitely cost himself a lot more time by saying out an extra 2 more laps. So yeah, I think Brent definitely made a mistake of that one. Let me quickly just check on what Felipe's last lap time was, because as you say, he did a 40.1 on that fastest lap. He did a 42.7 on the lap that Resify did the 40.1. So he's done a 42.5 on this lap around, whereas Resify on this lap around has done a 40.5, so 2 seconds faster. You said he needed to be a second a lap faster. Well, he's doubling that and more, Jake. So I think Resify has definitely got a good shout of catching up to Felipe. It's just whether he can make those tyres work towards the end of the stint, because I feel like those hards, even though they're going to be older than those mediums, they're still going to be, I would say that they're still going to have a bit more grip than what those mediums will do.
The problem for Resify is the advantage he'll have lap on lap will decrease. So if he's 2 seconds a lap quicker now, the next lap he might be 1.8 seconds, then 1.5 seconds. Then you kind of, you're fighting uphill really, trying to pull the gap down. You make these amazing gains early on, so you think, oh, this is amazing, I'm going to catch easily with 5 laps from the end. And then your tyres are going up quicker than the guy in front of you's tyres, and then it's a bit like, well, it becomes a lot more harem scarum, hetchy sketchy, squeaky bum time as to whether you're actually going to make that time up or not. He's still looking good on this lap, and he has got time in pocket against that second a lap, but the gains he's making are gonna be less and less each lap, so he's got to not get frustrated if he starts to feel his lap time slip a little bit. Felipe's just done a 42.4, Resify a 40.7, so 1.7 seconds on that lap, and that rate, I want to say it would be 6 laps before Resify will be up to the back of Felipe, if I can do quick maths. And he's already found another few tenths in the first 3 corners, so I think we are on very much LOE hot pursuit here, and we don't have much else going on in the field. Chris is close to the back of Dari, but not that close, and Tope is close to the back of Rex, but again, not that close, and they're all comparable tyres anyway. I think it is the Resify Felipe chase that's going to lend us the entertainment in these last 10.5 laps, because God knows entertainment has been lacking since half the field got wiped out at turn 5 on lap 1.
Yeah, no, I said it earlier, Singapore's one of those races where it can either be one of the greater races of the season or one of the most boring ones, and unfortunately it looks like it's turned out to be the latter one, one of the more boring ones for this season. But yeah, I mean, Lifeboat has just done an amazing job since starting in, what was it, P16, P17, from having his quali ban to now at the front of the field, 10 seconds up ahead of Felipe. Like I said, he's got to hope that there is no safety cars. I think he's got to lap 29 at the latest. And then once lap 29 passes, he's then just got to take it to the line, as long as nobody has caught up to the back of him. Chris dropping off more from the back of Dari and almost out of the DRS from the German in front of him, but Dari is using that ERS to try and get away from Chris actually, and I don't think he's managed to use enough of that, so Chris still just remaining in DRS, while Tope is closing up to the back of Rex, and Rex, again, I said it earlier, he's just not enjoying his time around the streets of Singapore. And Tope, to be fair, Tope looks like he's loving it a bit more than what the Alfa Romeo does out in front of him. So yeah, I think we're going to see a move go down. Maybe not this lap, but I feel like next lap, I think the German's going to make a move on his fellow IRT driver out in front. And then, of course, with the other IRT driver, Resify, 7.5 seconds now behind Felipe. Again, that's like another 1.5 seconds he's caught up in a lap. Yeah, I think at the end, Resify is going to catch him. It's just, what lap do you reckon?
I mean, it's a good day for IRT actually, that they've got all 4 drivers still running, and running in the top 8 as well. Half of our top 8 is IRT. Congratulations to them. But yeah, last lap, a 42.7 for Felipe. 41.2 for Resify, so 1.5 seconds on that lap. Lifeboat, meanwhile, he did a 42.2, so he's lapping half a second quicker than Felipe. His pace on comparable tyres is just on another plane of existence. He has got this race in the bag, barring any further safety cars, and Rex, Tope and RJ are closing up, so if trouble brews, that could be a potential sort of it. Let's see what Lifebout does this lap. A 42.0 this lap. Very good pace from Lifeboat. He's very much within 0.3 of his PB as well. He's absolutely got cracking pace. Felipe, 42.4, good lap for him, within 100th of his PB. What's Resify going to do? A 41.2. So that lap, only 1.1 seconds for Resify. The advantage he's got, it is being chiselled away as his tyres go off. And also, Felipe has got 50% ERS. Resify has got 8% ERS, and he's using every opportunity. He's not making any effort to save, which could cause him to trip up when he does catch up. Right now, I'm going to say lap 29, maybe as late as lap 30. I think we're getting towards the realm where Resify's gains are going to be less than a second a lap, and he's just got a penalty down at turn 7.
Yeah, so again, Resify is now probably another one that hopes that there isn't going to be a safety car either. But yeah, Felipe now can probably just sit there and just be quite happy. Even if Resify does catch him, he might even just sort of let him go, because he knows that his hards are going to be better at the end in comparison to Resify's mediums when he gets to the end of the race. So yeah, I think P2 is, unless he makes a mistake, I definitely think Nolan has gotten himself a P2 for this evening. The same with Lifebout. Again, if there's a safety car, then yeah, I think that's what he is praying for. One or two of the top three are praying that there isn't a safety car, whereas the one that's sitting in the middle of them is definitely hoping that a safety car comes out, because then it'll bunch of fill together, and then as well as that, he then catches up to the back of Lifebout. If there was a safety car, I'll ask you this there, Jake. If there is a safety car that comes out, do you see these top two pit?
Yes, I think you've got to. You're going to get swallowed up otherwise. Sorry, that lap, 42.6 for Felipe, 40.6 for Resify. Resify stepped up his pace. Felipe's pace dropped off 2 seconds on that lap. So maybe we are wrong to rule this battle out. Resify has just hooked up an amazing lap there. And but I would pit. I think you've got to pit. I think even though we saw Rocco in D1 win by not pitting, I think that was also in part due to the mayhem and shenanigans of what happened behind him. I think in a straight fight, I think he would have lost out otherwise if there weren't further spins. So, well, they need to keep out behind him very well. I don't know, it's a hard one. Tobe having very Blake Inspector on the back of that Alfa Romeo there. I would pit, certainly if you're Lifebout, because you've got a 12-second lead. And you know you need to get the penalty back as well. Because if you're on hard tyres, even if you keep track position, you're not going to make the 3 seconds on people. All you're going to be able to do is just keep the soft runners behind you. And they'll be very close behind you. So I think if you're Lifebout, you have to pit and hope you can then gap after whatever goes on behind you. Felipe's a tougher call, and Felipe, with how he's driven this season in these circumstances, he stays out. He stays out any day of the week. But Lifebout would pit. That would be my call.
Yeah, no, I can see that as well. I'm just having a look on everyone's lap time. Lifebout 42.1, Felipe 42.8, Resify 40.6, so 2.2 again on this lap. If that's the case, Resify should be on the back of Felipe by the end of this lap. So we might see a battle go down on the next lap here, Jake, for P2 between Resify and Felipe, which is going to shape up to be interesting. And like you say, it's definitely not over because of Resify picking up that penalty. He's got to get past Felipe and then drive away from him, get the 3-second gap. How's doable?
I think it's doable, but like I said, I don't know, I keep expecting Resify's tyres to go off more than Felipe's, but it doesn't seem to be happening. He's keeping that 2-second advantage, or he's brought that 2-second advantage back, rather. He had lost it. He's pulled it back, and he's driving the wheels off that Ferrari right now. I don't know. If you're Felipe, how hard you fight it and how hard you don't. I mean, to be honest, Cost Captain's out the race, T-Rome's out the race, Larkin's out the race, Luke's down in P6. I think you just let it go and hope you stay in 3 seconds, but if you don't, who cares? You've got a podium out of it. Funky Chicken says, Stuart, if you are reading this, please give Ben JS or Cost Captain a penalty as his ego is becoming very inflated. He says, idiots. No, sorry. Why did I say idiots? He said, Ben himself, Klaus Kaplan, said, joke. Lewis Campbell, QVR Campbell, said, hearing that T-Brub is more than to blame for this one. That's for the incident on lap 1. Have we had any further action? Oh, Reservoir is in DRS. You can tell I wasn't looking at my screen there because I just went, ooh. Let's quickly check in with D4, shall we? Let's see how that's going on. So I saw a crazy Switz leading the race, Javs in second. Ibo was apparently in P2, but he's now down in P11. There's a safety car with 8 laps to go in full wet conditions, so that's fun. 4/10 is Reservoir's gap to Felipe. He's got 5.5 laps, a little over 5.5 laps, to pass the AlphaTauri and gap him by 3 seconds. I'll ask the same question to you, Jack. Can he do it?
I think so. I think there's definitely an opportunity for Reservoir to do it. Nolan definitely needs to just try and keep the pace up with him, though. But he doesn't need to try and fight this too hard to the point where Reservoir could go for something a bit over-enthusiastic and then could take them by bat in a race. Nolan did it earlier with Brent, and I think has been given a second lifeline, so he needs to try and avoid that happening as well. So we'll see if he's able to do it. DRS is now enabled for Reservoir all over the back of Nolan, but not going to be able to go for any sort of move. I think when we're going to see the move go down is going to be in towards turn number 7, or might even be down towards turn 1 if Reservoir has got the pace. The only problem for him, though, is that Nolan still has ERS, and he has used a bit of it. He's now down to 30% ERS, to be fair, so Reservoir, if he can try and keep putting that pressure on Nolan, then he's got the opportunity of getting past. The only problem, though, is that his tyres are going to start to go off the more that he sits behind him, so he needs to get the move done ASAP. Despite Nolan, despite maybe trying to, get Nolan to burn his ERS, he needs to do this move ASAP. He's messed up in the final 2 corners. He's now down 42.4 for himself because of sitting in behind him, as Chris picks up a 3-second time penalty, so he's got a buffer to Luke anyway. But yeah, Reservoir needs to get the move done, and there's no doubt about it, especially in towards turn 7 here. But I get the feeling Nolan is going to be using the ERS here. I think, are we going to see the move go down? Nolan is using that ERS to try and stay up ahead of Reservoir. I think he's going to be able to stay up ahead of him for the time being. He does go a little bit defensive in towards turn number 7. Reservoir once again has to sit another lap behind Nolan, or is he? Nolan goes defensive in towards turn number 8 on the Ferrari, and yeah, Reservoir's going to have to just chill behind him again for the entire lap, unless he can get the move done after the hairpin, or even going in towards the hairpin, because you can see that red flashing light now on the back of the AlphaTauri. Do we see Reservoir get the move done on this lap, or do you reckon it's going to be on the next lap here, Jake?
I don't think he's got another opportunity on this lap. He's not close enough through the Singapore sling to have a send there at turn 13. He's probably not going to get the traction to have a run at 14, although Felipe, he said, he's now derating, and Reservoir will see that, and maybe he's going to have a lunge. No, he's not. Felipe takes the tighter line through 14, and then Ferrari nearly touching that out of the exit corner through the kink of 15 towards 16 and 17. Might Reservoir fancy us to just a surprise lunge somewhere to try and spook Felipe and make something happen unexpectedly here? They're comfortably P2 and 3. They've got those positions locked down, so neither of them need to take a huge risk, but Reservoir will know with only 4 laps left as they cross the line, and he needs a 3-second advantage. He's got to make a move sooner rather than later, but he is in a unique situation this lap that he's not had the last 2 laps, which is now, this time, Felipe has got no DRS, and let's have a look through turn 3. Reservoir taking a much higher line. He can pick up the throttle nice and early. Felipe's going to be forced tight through turn 5 here. He doesn't know exactly where the Ferrari is. Gets a little caught out of shape. Reservoir, though, clobbered the curve. That's not ideal for him either. And now Felipe giving the tow. Covers the inside line of 7, the outside of 6. Can Reservoir just chuck this around? Felipe is going to defend this hard here. Goes deep at 7. It's a little drag race towards 8. Contact between them. Felipe nearly does the same again as he did to Brent earlier on. The rear tyre getting lit up on the Ferrari there. He goes a little deep at 9. They barge wheels on the run down towards 10, but Reservoir's got this done. And I am shocked, Jack, with the Felipe we've seen this season, how hard he was willing to fight that, given the championship situation he's in this race.
Yeah, but at the same time, he wants to make sure he can keep that 3-second buffer to Reservoir out in front of him. So I'm not surprised, because look at the gap he's already gotten.
He's brought Darry to play.
Already gotten.
Look at Darry though. Darry's in similar tyres to Reservoir. He's only 2.4 behind Felipe now, and it's taken 2.5 seconds out of Felipe in the last lap. Darry and Chris could be getting in on this as well.
Again, though, you've got to remember Chris has also got that penalty to his name as well. So, yeah, Nolan needs to try and keep. Well, he can try and keep within the 3 seconds of Reservoir, but at the same time, he's now got to try and worry about behind him, because, as you say, Darry now only like just under 2.5 seconds behind Nolan. So, yeah, Darry, I think, is he could still be on for a podium as well. There is definitely an opportunity for a podium. 42.0 on his lap. Didn't really get to catch on Felipe's one. I'll quickly just have a quick check. But 42.0 for Darry and a 44.7 for Nolan. Bear in mind, he was battling the Reservoir on that lap. So this next lap, I think, is going to be crucial as to whether Darry's going to get the opportunity to go for a move on Nolan, or if Nolan is going to be the one that will be sitting on the podium for this evening.
Let's see what they do through first sector. 28.5 for Felipe, 5.94. Oh, I've just missed it for Darry. That's annoying. But it'll be the rest of the lap now, where there's less straight line speed emphasis, where we'll see whether there's any tyres left on the Aston Martin that can do something about Felipe. Only a 10th through turn 7, 8 and 9, and through 10 and 11 these parts will really be critical. Is Lick's going to retire 2 laps from the end when he was on for a point? Oh, no, I think he's not. I think he's going fastest. He's going fastest lap. Good on him. Another 10th and a bit for Darry, although he has a sluggish exit out of 13. He's going to be very close. Very, very close as to whether he gets within a position where he can attack Felipe into turn 7 on the last lap, and I think it will be the last lap. He's not making the big gains that he needs to. Felipe's already lost the 3 seconds to Reservoir. P2 is gone for Felipe. Reservoir has done an absolutely sterling job there. And to be honest, I think Reservoir is my driver of the day. More than Lifebout, I think I want to big up Reservoir. He controlled the race up until that safety car. And if the safety car had come out a little bit early, he would have been able to make a pit stop, perhaps, and Lifebout and Felipe not benefited quite as much as they did. I think he's been the best driver on track today, in my opinion, as Darry now 1.1 seconds behind Felipe.
Yeah, I don't think Darry's going to be able to get any move done, in my opinion. I think he needed to get within DRS on this lap to try and close up to the back of Felipe. Of course, he can still do it on track, but yeah, I think it's a bit too late for Darry to try and close back up to the back of Felipe. So yeah, I think he needs to get within DRS on this lap. He hasn't. I think Nolan has gone P3 unless he makes a major mistake out in front. I think Darry still gets 4th and Chris still gets 5th at this point. But so it was a bit interesting though, Jake. Rex has built himself up a nice little train. He's got he's in a 4-car train. He's got Tope, RJ and Brent all behind him. And I wonder if we're going to see something going in the final lap between these 4 cars. I think some carnage might ensue in this last lap.
Tope, what is he? He's 4 tenths behind. He needs to get close. He needs to be, I say, within 4 or 5 tenths coming onto the start line would be good for him. Yellow flag, that is Licks. Yeah, it's I made a mistake, sorry. That turn 12. Darry, he got within 1.1 seconds start lap. He's not been able to break that any further on this lap. He's just edged into DRS, but I don't think that's going to put him close enough out of turn 5 to have a lunge into 7. Unfortunately for him, although he's found another 10. Actually, Felipe's had a shoddy chicane there through 20 and 21. The gap's 6 tenths as we come on to the last lap of the race now. Darry's going to gain up with some DRS down towards turn 1. Neither of them have got too much DRS. Felipe has a tiny bit in reserve, but I think we could get an attempt here from Darry. It depends how much he wants this D2 podium. D2 title contender at times last season. Yeah, sure, he's got to go for it, but he was a bit sluggish through 5, and the run through 5 was not what he needed. He can set himself up close to Felipe, maybe a lunge into turn 8, but it's not what he needed. Lifeout's got a 2nd penalty of the day. That's inconsequential. I think Darry blew his window there when he messed up turn 5.
Yeah, no, he certainly has. And again, back to his train for P7. RJ, the closest one out of the four of them, but again, no moves going down. I think they're just all content with just sort of sitting behind one another for the time being. Lifeboat now in the final sector of this long 31 lap race around Singapore. Probably the most boring one of the season. I can't deny. It might have to be said, to be honest with you, Jake.
Here comes Darry.
He's close. Is he going to get the move done? Down in towards turn number 11. I don't think he's going to be able to get any sort of move done, and that, I think, confirms Felipe for P3. Lifeboat, 2 more corners to go, Jake. I think he's done it.
I think he has strategy played into his hands, but he's still driven a superlative race, takes P1, and Reservoir is going to take a very deserving P2 as well. He's gapped Felipe by 6 seconds in the end, and Felipe, again, the safety car was fortuitous for him, but he did what he needed to do to get a strong result, and he's going to complete the podium. Fends off a last lap assault from Darry, takes P3, it's going to be P4 for Darry. Chris will take 5th, Luke is going to come home a very lonely 6th, and then Rex is going to bring home that train of Tope, RJ, Brent, as they're still fighting and squabbling all the way to the line. RJ is looking for a move on Tope. There's going to be absolutely nothing doing there. It is those 4 in formation, and Brent spun coming out the last corner. Now he's going to reverse across the line. Sweeros and Licks we wait for, but not a classic, but probably the 3 best drivers on the day are the 3 who have made it onto the podium.
Yeah, I think that has to be said, to be honest with you. Darry as well, I suppose, could be a candidate, but yeah, I think if anyone it is, probably those top 3 that did finish on the podium are definitely our drivers of the day. I'm intrigued. I think Swing Ross might be able to get the or finish the fastest lap on here, so let's have a look. As he comes around the final 2 corners, yeah, fastest lap for Swing Ross. I don't think Lix is going to be able to have an answer for it. And I think Swing Ross is going to be the one with the faster, or he's going to be able to pick up that extra point for P11, so he ends up with 3 points for this evening. Yeah, Lix makes a mistake, so yeah, that's definitely Sweeros with the fastest lap. To finish it out, actually I think Lix did pick it up actually, I'll have to check.
In D4 right now, it continues to be crazy. Jav is on course for victory in D4 with 4 and a little bit laps to go. For some reason, we're just riding on board with Swip in P12. God knows why. Oh, it's the safety cars coming in, that's why. So we've got a 4-lap dash to the end. Go tune in now to D4, guys, so we can wrap up the stream here for D2. Because there's a 4-lap dash to the end in the wet in D4. It's Jav from Ghost Recon, from Energetics, from Jess Gamer, and Pole the Pose in the top 5 championship leader. Pole the Pose. Ibo up in P8. Big up, Ibo. Legend of LOEPRL. Ghost Recon going for a move on Jav there into turn 1. Exciting stuff. Much more exciting than we had in Division 2 here after turn 5 corners. So, Lifebout wins from 17th on the grid with a qualifying man, and I think that image on the left-hand side of the screen probably sums up his expectation or his feeling right now at the end of the race. A 56-minute and 39-second race. Reservoir started on pole, probably unlucky not to win given the safety cars. Finishes P2. Felipe 9th to 3rd. Darry actually finishes where he started. I believe he's the only person to do so. Chris is 5th. Luke is 6th. Rex 7th. Tope 8th. RJ 9th. Brent came home 10th. And then Sweeros 11th. Licks 12th. Our DNFers. In the end, not many fell after that early carnage. It was Sen and Evans early on. And then Coxey, Larkin, Scream, and Koskapin and T-Rank all wiped out in a single incident at turn 5 on the first lap. So we'll wrap up the stream there. Next week is Austria. No, next week is break week. Ignore us. Next week is break week, so in which case have a very merry Easter if you're Christian. Otherwise, we'll see you in 2 weeks' time for a race at the Spielberg Circuit, the Red Bull Ring in Austria. D2, catch us. Same folks, same place. Myself and J. Cole at 8:10 British Summer Time. Same time, also in Division 4, QVR, Messrs. Packet and Verstappen. And in Division 1, James Head 14 and Old School 3000, as per usual. And Jess Game 95 and Evil Dragon 99 in Division 3. They're both at 6:30 British Summer Time, or 7:30 Central European Summer Time, if you're on the continent and live in the 21st century. Right, thank you for tuning in. We'll see you then. Otherwise, have a very lovely break, and we'll catch you around the corner. Have a good Easter, and goodbye.